Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to, sift through your sources and pull out the real gems. Historical gold, you might say.
That's the idea.
Today, we're jumping into East Asia, specifically looking at the period between roughly 1200 and 1450. We've got a great historical overview to work with.
Exactly. And we're focusing on three main things from that overview. First, how China, especially the Song Dynasty, set up its government.
Right.
Second, how Chinese culture spread and influenced its neighbors. And third, some really fascinating economic innovations happening in China then.
Basically, we're giving you the shortcut to understanding this pretty complex but crucial time. Might be some surprises in there, too.
Yeah, hopefully we can clear things up and hit that aha moment for you.
Okay, let's dive in. Song Dynasty China, that's 960 to 1279. The big question, I guess, is how did they actually hold on to power and, justify it?
Well, a huge piece of that puzzle was Confucianism. It's a philosophy, really, that emphasizes order in society.
Through relationships, right, like ruler-subject, father-son, that kind of thing.
Precisely. Hierarchy is key. And central to that is filial piety, basically. Really deep respect for your parents, elders, ancestors.
Okay.
But the Song period saw something interesting develop. Neo-Confucianism.
Neo-Confucianism, so like a new take on it.
Sort of a revival, yeah, but with a twist. They brought back older Confucian ideas, but also blended in elements from Buddhism and Daoism. It was both continuity and, well, something new.
Interesting mix. And how did this philosophy affect, say, the social structure, like women's roles?
Well, women held a respected place within the family structure, definitely.
Yeah.
But legally,
Yeah.
they faced quite a few limitations.
Gotcha.
Things like losing property rights to their husbands upon marriage, and widows remarrying was generally not encouraged, sometimes even forbidden.
Hmm.
And then there was the practice of foot binding.
Ah, yes. That sounds, well, incredibly painful. What was that about?
It was. Young girls' feet were bound really tightly, breaking bones, reshaping them into this tiny lotus shape. It obviously made walking very difficult, limiting their mobility severely.
But why?
Over time, it became a powerful symbol of social status, especially for elite men. Having a wife with bound feet showed that she didn't need to work. It was a sign of the family's wealth and the man's prestige.
A really brutal status symbol. Okay, so we have this philosophical underpinning. How do they actually run the state day to day? The imperial bureaucracy comes in here.
Absolutely. The imperial bureaucracy, there's basically the whole system of government officials making sure laws were followed, taxes collected, things like that.
And how did people get these jobs? Was it just about who you knew?
Not entirely. And this is key for the song. A lot of positions were filled through the civil service exam.
Okay, the exam, that sounds important. What did it test?
It was heavily based on the Confucian classics, literature, philosophy, ethics. Passing these really tough exams was the main way into the bureaucracy.
And this helped the rulers how?
In a couple of big ways.
Uh-huh.
First, it meant, at least in theory, that officials were smart, educated people chosen for their merit, not just their family connections. That could lead to a more competent government.
Makes sense.
Second, it offered a path for talented people from less privileged backgrounds to rise up. That could create loyalty to the dynasty that provided this opportunity. It wasn't just about jobs. It sort of legitimized their power by making it seem based on talent.
Right, a government run by the best and brightest, steeped in Confucian ideas. Okay, let's broaden the view. How did all this, the culture, the systems, affect China's neighbors?
Yeah, China's influence was pretty significant across the region. The overview points specifically to Korea, Hainan Japan, and Vietnam.
Let's take Korea first. It mentions a tributary relationship. What does that actually mean?
Basically, Korea acknowledged China as the dominant power in the region, often sending gifts or tribute missions. In return, China usually gave gifts back and allowed trade. Crucially, though, Korea maintained its own political independence. It was a way to keep the peace and facilitate exchange.
So, a formal acknowledgement of China's superiority, but they still ran their own show.
Pretty much.
And culturally. Did they adopt Chinese ways?
They did. Korea implemented a civil service exam quite similar to China's. Confucian ideas also really took root, shaping family structures. Interestingly, though, the source suggests that women, especially elite women, might have become even more marginalized in Korea than in Song China.
Huh, that's unexpected. Okay, what about Japan? Their islands, a bit more separate.
Right, that geographical separation is key. Japan's adoption of Chinese culture was much more voluntary, more selective, and actually, a lot of the big borrowing happened before our 1200 time frame, like in the 7th to 9th centuries.
What kind of things did they adopt back then?
They restructured their government based on the Chinese bureaucratic model. Later on, they also took on Chinese Buddhism and, importantly, the writing system. But they were always picking and choosing what worked for them.
Selective shoppers, culturally speaking.
You could say that. They definitely maintained their own distinct path.
Got it. And Vietnam, to the south. Similar to Korea.
The relationship was similar, in some ways, political independence within that tributary framework. The Vietnamese elite also adopted quite a bit. Confucianism, Buddhism, Chinese writing styles, the civil service exam.
But were there differences?
Yes, particularly regarding women. The overview notes that women in Vietnam faced fewer restrictions compared to China. They even had female deities and Buddha-like figures, which is quite distinct.
Fascinating. And foot binding, did that spread?
No. That's a key point. Neither Vietnam nor Korea nor Japan adopted foot binding.
That really highlights how influence isn't just simple copying, is it? These places adapted things to fit their own societies.
Exactly. Active adaptation, not just passive reception.
Okay, let's swing back to China itself. We mentioned Neo-Confucianism, but the overview also talks about Buddhism during the Song. Even with the state pushing Confucianism, Buddhism was still important.
Oh, definitely. Buddhism had arrived centuries earlier, coming from South Asia, and it was deeply woven into Chinese society by the Song era.
Can you give us a quick reminder of the basics? The Four Noble Truths.
Sure, the core idea is about understanding suffering. That life involves suffering. Suffering has causes like desire and attachment, but suffering can cease, and there's a path to end it.
Which is the Eightfold Path.
Right. That's the practical guide. Things like right understanding, right intention, right speech, right action, mindfulness, concentration, all aimed at achieving enlightenment or nirvana. It also absorbed concepts like karma and rebirth, likely influenced by Hinduism.
And Buddhism itself wasn't monolithic, right? There were different branches.
Correct. You had Theravada Buddhism, which is closer to the original teachings, really emphasizing monastic life and individual liberation from the cycle of rebirth. It became dominant in places like Sri Lanka and Southeast Asia.
Okay.
Then Mahayana Buddhism emerged, which saw the Buddha more as a divine, compassionate figure and made enlightenment seem more accessible to lay people, not just monks. This spread widely through East Asia.
And Tibetan Buddhism.
That developed unique characteristics, influenced by local traditions, with a strong emphasis on mystical practices, visualizations, gurus, that sort of thing.
So even with the Song emperors favoring Neo-Confucianism for governing,
Buddhism, in its various forms, remained a really significant spiritual and cultural force for many people in China.
and the overview mentions Chan Buddhism specifically.
Yes, Chan Buddhism, better known in the West by its Japanese name, Zen, was a distinctly Chinese school that emphasized meditation and achieving enlightenment through direct experience, rather than solely through scripture. It shows how these traditions evolved in China.
So a complex religious landscape. Okay, let's shift gears one last time to the economy. The overview paints a picture of a thriving Song economy.
Absolutely thriving. And it's worth noting, this prosperity had roots back in the Tang Dynasty, but it really accelerated under the Song.
What was driving it? The overview mentions four key things.
Yeah, four main engines. First was the increase in commercialization. The economy moved beyond just subsistence farming. People were producing more goods specifically to sell and trade.
Like a market economy starting to emerge.
Exactly. And this led to major financial innovations. Widespread use of paper money, credit systems, promissory notes, really quite advanced for the time.
Paper money. Okay, what was the second driver?
Iron and steel production. It boomed. By the 11th century, China was producing huge amounts of iron and steel in large workshops.
What was all that metal used for?
Everything, really.
Hmm.
Weapons for the military, coins for the expanding economy, and critically better tools for farming.
Which leads nicely to the third point, agricultural innovation.
Precisely. Besides better iron tools like plows, the huge breakthrough was the introduction of champa rice from Vietnam.
Champa rice. What was special about it?
Two things, mainly. It was drought resistant, which is always good for farmers.
Yeah.
But the really big deal, it could yield 2, sometimes even 3 harvests per year in the warmer South.
Wow, double or triple the food.
Basically, yeah. It massively increased agricultural output.
Yeah.
And more food means.
More people, population growth.
Exactly. It supported a larger population, a larger army, more specialized labor. It fueled the whole system.
Makes sense. And the fourth driver, transportation, getting all these goods and food around.
Right. Infrastructure was key. The Song expanded the Grand Canal, that incredible man-made river connecting the Yellow River in the north with the Yangtze River in the south.
That must have made moving stuff way cheaper and easier.
Hugely so. It was like the main highway for bulk goods. But maritime transport also got a boost.
How?
Two big innovations. The magnetic compass became widely used for navigation at sea, much more reliable than just looking at the stars.
Right.
And shipbuilding techniques improved. Chinese junks, their main trading ships, became bigger, stronger, and safer, partly thanks to features like watertight bulkheads and stern-mounted rudders for better steering.
So better ships, better navigation, more
Right.
sea trade.
Definitely. All these things, financial tools, industrial output, amazing agriculture, better transport, they combine to create this incredibly dynamic Song economy.
Okay, so let's pull it all together. It was clearly a period of major change.
Absolutely. We've touched on how the Song governed using Confucianism and this merit-based bureaucracy.
How its culture influenced neighbors like Korea, Japan, Vietnam, but with local twists.
Right, and how remarkable economic innovations really powered the dynasty's prosperity and, well, its influence too.
It really gives you a picture of a transformative era, with effects that lasted long after the Song Dynasty itself. So hopefully, for you listening, this deep dive has made this period in East Asia a bit clearer. You can really see how politics, culture, and economics were all tangled up together.
They really were interconnected.
Which brings us to a final thought for you to ponder. When you look at everything we've discussed, the Confucian governance, the cultural ripples across the region, those powerful economic engines, which of these developments do you think ultimately had the biggest, most lasting impact on East Asia's future? And why?
That's a great question. Lots to think about there. Each played a crucial role, laying groundwork for what came next.
Definitely something to chew on. Thanks so much for joining us for this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for listening. Hope it sparked some curiosity.